Hello everyone, welcome to the fourth section of Flask tutorial. In this section, we are going to add a sign-in page in our API. Let's get started. So to handle the web forms, we can use Flask WTF extension. Flask has a lot of extensions like this to add more functionality. So Flask extensions can be installed like a normal Python package. So let's install this WTF package by using the pip command. Pip install flask hyphen WTF. So for most of the Python Flask packages has this hyphen and then package name, that format. So we have successfully installed the package, and make sure that you are in the same environment. Okay, so the next step is creating an configuration file. So when the application grows bigger, we need to pass lot of configuration variable like secret key, configuration key, those kind of stuff. So to keep all those configuration variables separately, we can create a separate file. So we are going to create a config.py to keep all this configuration variable. Make sure this should be in the top level with this flask app.py. So it should be in the top level. So where we are going to create a file called config.py. Okay, so this config.py should have this content. So it's going to have, we have to import the OS. Okay, and then we have to create a class to handle this. Config class, and inside this config class we are going to create a secret key. So the secret key is going to be like, so here inside this class we are creating a secret key. So this secret key, so we have already imported the OS package here. So OS environment variable, that is built-in variable, get secret key. So we are going to share it somewhere. So that will be saved in the variable secret key, either that key or a hard-coded string. Okay, so we are going to use it as a secret key for the security need. So the configuration settings are defined as a class variable here, config class. So the application needs more configuration items. They can be added to this class in future. So we can create subclasses as well. But right now we are just creating a secret key variable which has two components. One is the secret key variable. It's a variable that may have some value which will be passed later, or it is hard-coded string. So for the development environment, the hard-coded string is fine. But when we move to production, then we have to pass the secret key instead of hard-coded string. Okay, now we have created config.py. Now we have to integrate it in our init.py, which is our package. So all the packages, whatever we change, we have to integrate it with the package. So in the init.py, we are going to connect this config file. So from config class, import the class name. So the class name for that is, recall, it's uppercase config, right? So we have to add the uppercase config here. Config. So we have imported this class, and then we have to connect this config class here by app.config dot from object. So the class config has an object, right? So from object we are going to connect this config class. So here how creating a Flask class importing all the Flask packages like that. This creating config.class from config.py module. We are creating that. This configuration items can be accessed as a dictionary syntax from this app.config. So next step, we have to create a login form. So for that, we are going to create form.py to store all the web form information as a class so that it can be handled as an object. So this new model should be saved in the level, this level, init.py level. So here we are creating a new file. For the app, we are creating a new file, and this new file is form.py. So make sure this should be in this init.py package level. So now we are going to add all the packages that we need for this form.py. So the first thing, from the WTF packages which we have already installed, from that we are going to import the Flask form. So that's the first package that we are going to add in this Python file configuration. So Flask WTF package, import Flask form, and then this WTF package has all the inbuilt packages. There one of the package names WT forms. So from that package we are going to import the fields that we need to handle the input, like username field, password field, submit field, and then remember or not, remember password, that field. So we have to import all those fields which is built in this WT forms, which comes with Flask WTF package. So we are going to add all these 4 input fields: string field, password field, boolean field, submit field. So remember or not, for that we are using boolean field. Okay. So next thing that we need is for validation. So the WTF package has wtforms.validators package. So from that package we are going to import a function called data required, okay, to handle whether the user has entered the field information or not. For that we are importing this package. Okay, so next thing, we are going to create the class. So class, we are going to create the class called login form. So object Flask form. Okay, this one, we are passing this Flask form. Okay, so in this class we are going to create all the variables to hold the information which is entered by the user, right? So username is the first field. So for handling the username we are going to use this function, string field function, which we are going to import from this wtforms package. So that first we are going to pass the label. So the first argument for this field, all these functions, the first argument is label. Okay, the second argument is going to be whether the data is needed or not, that is the validators. Okay, so the second argument is validator, where we have to pass the argument name, validators, and then data required. So you can see we already have imported this function, data required function, from this validators package. Okay, so this one will be saved. The entered information will be saved in the variable username. Next we have to create a next variable to get the password, to handle the password. Okay, so for the password handling we are creating another variable password. For that we need password field, which we have already imported, and then it also has two arguments. The first argument is for label, and the second argument whether it is needed or not. This validator is required. Okay, so for that required, and the third one whether to remember the password or not. So for that we have created a variable called remember variable, which we are going to use this boolean field function, which passes the label alone. It is not a required one. So we didn't use the validator required for this. and the fourth one sign in form. Okay, so submit the information, submit the entered information. For that we are creating a variable called submit, and then for this submit button we need the package submit field. So submit field function, for that we are passing the sign in form, that label here. Okay, so we are done with this form.py. So the next step is creating a front end to handle this form. So we have this functionality to handle the form to get the input, but we don't have any web page. So we have to create a web page. So as usual we have to go to this template where we are going to add one more page for the login. So here new file, so where we are going to add login.html. So as usual in the login.html we have to extend this base function, right? So I'm just copying this code from the previous web page for the template, and then just copying it here and base.html extension, and then black content in black, everything is template. Okay, now inside this I have to create the sign in form. Okay, so the first, to give the header that it is the sign in form, let's create a header and say sign in, and then this is going to be the form, right? So we have to add a form tag, form, and action. Let's add the content later, but right now we are just going to say method post, and then no validate, because we are going to do the server side validation here, so we don't need to validate it. So no validate attribute, since it is going to get validated in the server side. Okay, next thing we are going to add form hidden tag. So this form hidden tag template argument generates a hidden field that includes a token that is used to protect the form against the attacks like CS or RF attacks. So already we have all the security key, all those stuff. So in addition to that, we are adding this form hidden tag attribute to avoid the CRF attacks. Okay, so like this we are adding this form hidden tag. So next thing we have to add all the form information. So as a paragraph we are adding, first we are adding the username. Okay, for the username form dot, so remember in the form.py we have this username, right? So we are passing this as a variable here. So here we are passing this username as a variable with the label. That is the first argument, with the label. Okay, so in the next line with the line break we are going to add a password, right? For the password, so I'm just copying this, pasting it, and then instead of username I'm just going to pass this variable password. Okay, so I'm just replacing this username with password. So the next paragraph, okay, sorry, so that should be here as a separate paragraph. We have to add it as a separate paragraph here. So this is separate paragraph. Okay, so here but with this first paragraph we have to do what is the size of the input. So that size should be passed here. So for that I'm passing this size to be 32, maximum 32 characters of username. And similarly for the password we allow 32, maximum 32 size for the password. So the third input is going to be whether we want to remember. So we to include the remember me or not. For that we are going to add this remember me, this thing. remember B variable. So we are going to pass that variable. So for that, so here we are adding remember B from the variable remember B with the label. We are passing that. Finally, we are adding the submit button. That also as a separate p tag. So where we are going to add the submit button. So for that we have it as a variable submit, right? So if you recall, submit is the variable. So we are calling submit as a function here. Okay. So we have created this login page here. So let's save it. So this will be called, when we have to now map it with the root function. In the root function, we have to add a view function to display this page when we click the login page. Okay, so the next step is adding root file. So before adding it to the root file, let's add this new page that we have created, this login page. We have to add it to the template, the index page, right? So there we have to add this new page in the navigation bar. So href URL for login. Okay, so we have added this. So the next step, updating the roots file and add the view function so that this index.html page will get displayed. Okay, so to add that, to map it, let's go to the roots.py. First we have to add all the packages that we need. So in addition to the packages that we have already imported, we need one more package called redirect. For if the username and password doesn't match, or for if they didn't enter the username and password, then it should get redirected to the index.html page, right? So for that we have to use we are going to use the redirect functionality. So this redirect functionality can be imported as a package from the Flask. It comes with the Flask. So all we need to do is we have to import this redirect package. Okay. So I have added the import redirect package, and then here I'm just going to add the form that we have created, form.py. So I'm just calling that form.py package here, where I'm going to import the, what is the class name? The class name is login, right? Login form. So this is going to be the class name. So I'm just importing this class name here. Login form. Okay. Save this. Now we have to update this content to receive the information. So we are going to add a decorator, like how we have added all the decorators. We are going to add a decorator. So I'm just copying this decorator code from here and reuse it. App.root. So instead of this calculator, now we are adding one more page in the view function, login page. Okay, get and post. So now we have to define this login page. So for that we are adding the view function, login, define login. Okay, so where we are adding form, we are creating a form and we are passing this class here, login form class here. Okay, we are calling that and we are saving it in the object login form. Okay, so next we have to validate it. If form.validate on submit, if the information, once we are just going to add this content, validate on submit, form.validate on submit. So what does it would do? The form.validate on submit method does all the form processing work. When the browser sends the post request as a result of the user pressing that submit button, when the presser submit that all the information, the entered information, username and password, this form validate on submit button will get triggered, and it is going to gather all the data and run all the validators attached to this input field. And if everything is alright, it will return it will return true, and it will allow the user to access the page. If it is false, then if it fails, then it will redirect it to the different page, that is index.html page. So this redirect function instructs the client browser to automatically navigate to a different page since we have given it as an argument. So the view function uses this redirect function. So we are going to add redirect pack. We have already added redirect package. So we are going to add this redirect package with the code. So here, if the form gets submitted, okay, if the form gets submitted, Flask, we are going to add a Flask message. Okay, and then we are going to add the redirect. So if everything goes right, then the user will get the access, or else we are going to return this redirect. Okay, so if everything works, then it will get direct to the rendered template for the login page. So we have to add that code. So everything goes right, the entered information is right, username, password matches, then we are just going to return this rendered template. So this should be in the same level of if. Okay, so if everything is alright, then it will return login.html page, return rendered template. If not, it will redirect the page to index.html, prohibiting the access. Okay, so we have already added this redirect package here, so it will work. Then this Flask, what this Flask will do, so it's a useful function. So this function comes with the Flask package. So it will show the message, error message to the user. So a lot of applications use this technique to communicate the message to the user. If some action has been successful or not, based on that, the error information can be passed as a Flask message. Okay, so this one comes with the Flask package. So whatever the error message is, Flask stores that message, and that will be displayed as a Flask message in the web page. So we have to add that message content in the template page. What is the error, whether it has error or not. So that error information will be displayed. So that will be saved. That is possible because of this Flask function. Now what we have to do, we have to add this Flask message in our template. So if this Flask functionality has an inbuilt variable called Flask message, so we have to add that content here. So here in our template.html, to handle this error message and to display this error message, we are adding another variable. Okay, so with the Jinja 2 facility, we can create with messages. All the Flask messages will be saved in this one. Get Flask messages will return all the error messages that we are going to save it in a variable called messages. So if there is any message, okay, if there is any message, to say that if messages, if this messages variable has some value, display that value one by one. Okay, so to say that, to display it one by one, we are going to create an unordered list, and then here we are going to use the for loop. Okay, so for loop, for that, for messages in, sorry, for message in messages. Okay, here we are going to add all the list. Okay, li tag. So list tag, and then we are going to display all the messages as a variable. One by one, we are going to list all the messages. So for that, messages, save. So we have to end this form. Okay, so here we are going to end this if message. End if. since we have added this with functionality here, we also have to end this with. End with. Okay, so this one to handle the error message. So the last one is one more thing. In the login page, we have to add some error message to the user to improve the user experience. So the validators, we have attached the validators in form.py. You can see we have the validator, right? So the validator that are attached to the form field prevent invalid data from being submitted, right? So to improve the user experience, even though like it will prevent entering the invalid data, we have to let the user what's wrong with the input. Okay. So for that we have to add the error messages in the login.html. So here to improve the user experience, we are going to give the warnings regarding the input data. So here we are going to add that warning messages. Okay, so for that we are going to add this content for error in. So it comes with that form is the class that we have created. Username is the variable which holds the error messages. Okay, which holds the error messages. So errors. So we are going to display that error messages here. Okay, so to display that error message, we are going to add a span tag. Okay, so span tag is going to display this error message. We're creating a variable holder which is going to hold this error. How many error messages? That many error messages. So we are creating for loop for that. So we are just creating this variable holder. So just to give it like a warning, let's add a small styling in red color font. Okay, so we're just going to add a color, red color, just to know that it is red. Let's say red color font. So it will just look like a warning. Okay, now we have to end the for. We have created for, so we have to end the for. End for. Okay, let's do the same thing for the password. So in the password field, so let's say password.error. So variable name is password. And then style everything the same, like password, and then error message in red color font. Actually this error message, this errors is a inbuilt thing with all the form field. Okay, so in all the form field, whatever we are importing from WT forms, it has this inbuilt thing dot errors. Okay, so which will by default it will hold all the error variable which we are displaying here in the login page. In this section, so the first thing, we have added a login page to display the login page with username and password input. So there we have extended the base.html, and in the main content we have added a form with username and then password and remember me boolean value and then submit button. So this is our login form web page, and then in base, in addition to adding the URL for this login in the navigation, we have added some more content to display the Flask message. If we recall, in the root we have added a Flask package which is going to get the error messages, which is going to hold the error messages. So here the error messages will be saved. So when we call this get Flask messages method, we can call all the saved error messages that we are saving in a variable called messages, and then we are by using for loop, we are displaying the messages one by one. So here I have added the content to display the Flask messages, error messages in the login page. For example, if the user does not enter the password, then it will say the automatic error messages, enter the username and password, or enter the correct username and password. Those kind of error messages will get displayed in the main page. And then let's look at the form, which the form file which we have created, where we have imported the Flask WTF package. So previously there was an error here. That is because this Flask WTF package was installed globally in the main Python folder. Actually, we have to install all these packages in our current environment. So I resolved that problem and installed all the packages in the current environment. Then that error went away. So I made sure that this extension, this package is there in the current environment. Then I imported all the packages. These packages are for the input field. We don't need to use the HTML input field to do that. We are using the WT form is the package which has different field functionality, so that we can just import those packages. For example, to import the string input, we have to import string field. For the password input, we have to import password field. Remember B is either remember or no remember, select Boolean field. And then for submitting the input submit, we have the package submit field. Okay, and then it has the built-in validator package which will just import different validation functionality. So here we are just going to check whether this username and password, this particular input is required or not required. So for that we have to import data required package, so that here we can use this validator attribute with the data required value. Okay, so that can be used if we import this package. So these are the packages and the functionalities that we have imported, and with that we are creating a login form class. In those class we have created variable with all this string field, password field, boolean field packages, that input fields. Okay, and then in root spy, what we have done, we have added Flask package to hold the Flask message, and then we have created login form, that is the class. So we have to import that, which is our own app. From our own app, from the form, we are because this login form class is there in the form.py, right? So that we have to import from app, from form file, we have to import this login form class which we have created here. So then finally we have to map this function, view function. Okay, so we have the URL for login, the index page, calculator page, and then math module. Here we have to add view function for the login page which we have created. Okay, so here we are defining the map function, view function. So we are creating a variable and hold the login form class which we have created here, and then here validate on submit. If it is getting validated, then we are calling this Flask message to hold the error messages. If there is anything wrong with the credential, with the username and password, to display that, we are calling the Flask message which we have imported here. And then finally, if there is any problem with the credential, then it will become false. So when it is false, then we are redirecting it to the index page. When it is true, then we are redirecting it to the login.html page. Okay, so that's what rendering. We are rendering this login.html page. Okay, so that's what we have done. Now let's see how it works. So it opened this page. So login. So you can see this is what we have created: username, password, remember, sign in. So it does not, like, it's just a template page where we have created in this section. So next section we are going to see how to work with the databases and how to create the active login form. See you in the next section. Thank you.